Good afternoon, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible, ma'am. We are starting with the session, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Bharatiya Vidyapeeth Institute of Management and Research, New Delhi. I, Dr. Ritika Malik, Assistant Professor at BVIMR, welcome you all on behalf of Bharatiya Vidyapeeth Institute of Management and Research, New Delhi. It was established by Dr. Patangrao Ji Kadam with the objective of bringing about intellectual awakening with the vision of social transformation through dynamic education. BVIMR is a constituent unit of Bharatiya Vidyapeeth University, which is NAC re-accredited grade A plus university, having 188 educational institutes of academic excellence under its wings. And BVIMR is accredited by government bodies like UGC, AICTE, NAC, NBA, and NIRF. We are proud to present Bharatiya Vidyapeeth to you through this short video.
I have a fairly long association with this university, Dr. Patangrao Kadam, the chancellor and founder of this university. I got greatly impressed by the splendid achievements of Dr. Kadam in establishing a vast network of educational institutions of various kinds within a short span of only 4 decades. Bharatiya Vidyapeeth is not only one of the largest educational organizations in this country, but is also widely known for the high levels of academic excellence its institutions have achieved.
I would call on Bharatiya Vidyapeeth to focus on developing innovative approaches and undertaking research. I am sure the Chancellor and the Vice Chancellor are giving you here.
I'm highly honored to welcome our esteemed speaker, Dr. Jaspreet Kaur. I welcome you, ma'am, for imparting your knowledge and guidance towards a quality research. I'm just briefing about a brief profile of Dr. Jaspreet Kaur, ma'am. She is an associate professor at Pearl Academy. She has over 16 years of teaching experience in marketing research. She has authored 2 books on customer relationship management and service marketing, and has written many research papers in Scopus and ABDC journal. She is an editor and reviewer to many ABDC and Scopus journals like International Journal of Consumer Studies and Management Decisions, Emerald. She is an AMT certified faculty from AIMA and has received the GRABS Best Researcher Award in 2008 and the ITSR Best Researchers Award in 2020. She has conducted over 55 FDPs and workshops on the topic of systematic review and meta-analysis and qualitative research with NVIVO this year. I also welcome all the participants around the globe, sparing your valuable time to attend 5 days FDP on qualitative research analysis using NVIVO. I request all participants In case of any doubts and questions and queries, please drop a message in the chat box and raise your hands. I welcome you, ma'am, again. Over to you, Jaspreet, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. First thing first, thank you so much for inviting me here, ma'am. It's always an honor to be associated with an institution of this sort. First thing first, I would like to start with, generally I start with NVIVO, but before doing NVIVO, I get the participants through what is qualitative research. Okay, so qualitative research is something which is less understood in the domain. So quantitative research, of course, there are a lot of parameters. So Ritika ma'am, correct me if I'm wrong. This is supposed to be the first session, correct?
Right, ma'am, right. It is J1 only.
Yeah, so I would like to take you all through a theoretical framework of what is qualitative research, the types of qualitative research, and then I have 3 days with you. So tomorrow on, I would like to start NVIVO with you. I request all participants to please download NVIVO, okay, and keep it ready for tomorrow's hands-on session. Okay, so in case there are any, at any point of time, if you cannot do an operation in NVIVO, we can allow a share screen and we can solve problems also, but for that, you have to be able to download it. Okay, so my request to you is, if any of you have not downloaded, what I'll do is, I'll stop somewhere around 5:15 for doubt session. And in that session itself, those 15 minutes, 5:15 to 5:30, I would like all of you to just download and show me the icon on your laptops, which means that you should be ready. Okay, so that tomorrow we don't waste time at all. So I'll start with the qualitative analysis and what is qualitative analysis. So just give me 1 minute. I'm just sharing my screen. Please do let me know if it is visible. And for better connectivity, I'll be switching off my camera and I'll switch it on when there's a Q&A session. So I'm just sharing my screen. So I've just shared my screen. Is the PPT visible? Is the PPT?
Yes, yes, ma'am, it's visible, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So
yes,
I can
ma'am.
Thank you. So qualitative data, and before we go to NVIVO of course is more of a tool or a software to do the qualitative analysis. But why qualitative analysis, or why this hype of qualitative analysis, is because when we are understanding the in-depth feeling of a person, of a consumer, of an HR employee, or a financial venture capitalist, the in-depth understanding is very, very important, and that is where qualitative data comes into practice. So when I don't want to ask him a question like yes, no, strongly agree to strongly disagree, rank from 1 to 5. So there what happens is I constrain the person into a foundation that, okay, these are the multiple choice and you are supposed to be answering only from this. Now, when I do a descriptive research, in research design, we have 3 types of design. One is exploratory, one is descriptive, and one is causal. So when I'm doing a descriptive and causal research design, quantitative analysis is good. But when I'm doing an exploration, that is where I use a qualitative data. And I am citing Malhotra and Dash 2020 for this, what I have said right now. So in qualitative data, what happens is that these are all the points of qualitative data. Information is loosely defined, research process is unstructured, findings are tentative, and I have picked up all these points from books. But rather than just listening to what is written in the books, I would like to come to a practical example in a research paper. So now this is a practical example from a research paper for a research which is called Exploratory Research Design, where the purpose is to find something new, something that has yet not been found out by others. So this is actually a research paper which got published in Journal of Psychology and Theology. And this person wanted to study the beliefs about life after death. So what this person tried to study is, he wanted to actually see that what actually happens after death. Okay. Now, people who do this sort of an exploratory research, why am I calling it exploratory, is because nobody till now knows what happens after death. Okay, so this is something which is new. Nobody has explored it, and this particular researcher wanted to explore it. For an exploration, my sample size is always very small. Okay, why I say so is because in exploration, I am trying to, I'm trying to find out the new variable. And if that new variable can be asked from 500 people, then how is it new? I repeat, in exploration, I'm trying to find out a new variable. If the new variable can be asked to 500 people, then how is it new? Okay, so in exploratory research or qualitative research, my sample size is very small. To publish in an A category paper, A category, when I say I'll be using the word A category very often, or B category, I am referring to the ABDC list of paper. So Australian Business Deans Council list of paper. And we in the private institutions, we go by the ABDC. Even the IIMs go by the ABDC. Okay. Fortunately or unfortunately, we do not go by the UGC list. Another list that we do refer to, which is at a lower level than ABDC, if we can call it, is Scopus list. So we say that a journal where we publish should at least be Scopus, and if it's Scopus and ABDC, nothing like it. Okay, so that is what I will refer to when I say an A category paper or a B category paper or a C category paper. So in an A category paper, the amount of data set that you need for an exploratory research or a qualitative research is somewhere around 30 to 50 people. So if 30 to 50 respondents you have, interviews you can get for your qualitative research, you will be able to publish in an A category paper. So you can imagine the size of sample. So where in a quantitative research, I would tell my PhD scholars that anything less than 300 is not acceptable for a research paper. In a qualitative research, I tell them somewhere around 25 to 40 is okay. So the sample size is very small. Now here again, this psychologist, when he wanted to study what happens after death, what he did is he picked up some 20 to 25 samples. Now, the biggest challenge for this qualitative research, because it's exploratory and I'm trying to take out a new variable, the biggest problem in this research was that how do you find samples? Whom do I ask that what happened after death? Nobody can answer that. So this researcher picked up samples or picked up people who had passed into death but had come back out of death after a few seconds. So, there are cases in medical history where a person is declared as dead, but in a few seconds he gets revived. So they are very, very rare cases. To get a sample of 20 to 25 is also very difficult. And these authors actually got those samples. Now, when they got this sample, they interviewed the people. Okay. When they interviewed the people, they asked them that, what did you see after death? Okay. And some people said we saw a flash of light. Some people said we saw a family. Some people said we saw God. Okay. So some people said kids, wife, brothers, sisters, all sort of narratives were there. All these narratives of these so-called 25 people was written in a research paper and presented and published. Okay. Now, you might say that this sort of research is not concrete. Agreed. Absolutely agreed that this sort of a qualitative research where we're trying to explore something new is not concrete. Agreed. I agree to this. I agree to this. But this is also research. Simply because it's not concrete, or simply because it's the first step of research, simply because it has a new variable which nobody has ever studied, does not mean that this is not a research. And this is the essence of what we call exploration, where I find out a new variable. So now let me come to the bookish knowledge. If you've understood this paper, I think I can apply it to the bookish knowledge, which is information is loosely defined. Despite the fact that I did interview these 25 people on on what they saw after death, the information that they have given me is loosely defined, which means I'm still not sure that what they have told me is definite. Agreed. I have listed it in my paper, but I'm not sure. Number one. There is one of my very good PhD students who's working on spirituality, a very dedicated person, and she's doing she's done a PI, a beautiful PI on she's asked Indians as to what they feel is spirituality. So Indians are defining spirituality in their terms, and she's going to do a PI analysis and a qualitative analysis and going to publish the paper. But you might say that this is loosely defined. How can consumers decide what is spirituality? Why should we ask the consumers what is spirituality? We should be asking the consumers what is spirituality through qualitative data, because what we assume the consumers know, they really don't know. So, if you think each and every consumer to whom we are selling products which are based on spirituality, if you feel that they understand the real essence of spirituality, they don't. And I, as a marketer, it is very important for me to know what do they understand as spirituality, because I have to position my product according to that. Okay, so for such marketing problems also, we go through qualitative research. So information is loosely defined. Okay, if I say Indians think this is spirituality, it cannot be generalized. I cannot say the whole world thinks the same about spirituality. So qualitative data is loosely defined. The research process is unstructured and flexible. So when I say it's unstructured and flexible, it means that I do not go with a structured PI to them. Okay, so for this I'll show you. I'll just show you one of the PIs that I did for my research, and I'm going to use this for the NVIVO analysis also. Okay, just give me 1 minute. I'm opening the file. So I hope you can see this. I hope all of you can see the Word document. So here I asked the people, what are the ways in which you try and reduce wastage at your domestic front? Okay. Now, why I'm at this point that research process is unstructured and flexible. So the research tool I have used over here is a PI, but it is absolutely unstructured, open and flexible. So when I'm asking them, when I went and asked them that what are the ways in which you try and reduce wastage in your home, so this part of the sentence was absolutely, just a second, this part of the sentence was absolutely structured. So I went with this structured 6-7 questions to everybody. But what happens is that when you go and ask people questions in qualitative research, what are the ways in which you try and reduce wastage at your home? Some people give you very short answers and finish off the PI. So you end up by just 1 or 2 lines about how they try and reduce wastage in their home. And this is when I have to make my tool flexible. So, I added a few, like, for example, do you dispose of garments which are expensive? I added this line then and there. So this is unstructured. I added it then and there because this respondent was not ready to give me information. Further, if he again stops at one line, I will have to add. So what do you do with the utensils? I'll have to add another one. So now this has become 3 lines, and mind you, where I am asking 3 lines of question to one respondent, to another respondent, I might just ask one if he is giving me sufficient data. So the point I'm trying to make over here, and this is one of my papers which is about to get published. It's come up with a minor revision, and I'm very optimistic it should get published in one of the Emerald ABDCB category journals. So when you ask these questions, the research process is unstructured and flexible. Over there, I might have to change the wording of the question. Over there, I might have to add another line to the question. So unlike a structured questionnaire, where I have a standard multiple choice tool, in exploratory research or qualitative research, the research process is very, very unstructured and flexible. The findings are tentative and need further research. So if you come to this paper and you say that this is exactly what is going to happen with every person who dies, it's not true. The findings are tentative and they need further research. Now, what is this further research that we are referring to? The further research we need now is descriptive and conclusive research, the quantitative research. Okay, so this is one example that I've given you of a mixed method where qualitative research comes first and then comes the conclusive or quantitative research. The insights of exploratory research have been cross-checked by conclusive research. So these findings have to be checked by conclusive research. They are by itself not, we can't say they are defined, etc. But a paper like this, which lists the exploratory findings, will definitely be published. And then that paper will be taken as a base for another researcher who's doing a conclusive research for those variables to be actually proven quantitatively. Okay. Another parameter of qualitative research is that it isolates key variables. Okay, so we have to come up with new variables which have not been spoken about in the past. Only then we say that exploration happened. When we come up with new variables, we generate new constructs for theories. So theories have some constructs. So for example, a theory of planned behavior. Let me idly take you to, many of you might not know what is a construct. So this is theory of planned behavior. I'm just giving you an example of theory of planned behavior. So when we say this is theory of planned behavior, this is a proper theory which has been given by a very well-known person. So if this is a theory, the attitude, subjective norms, behavioral control, intention, and behavior, these are what we call as constructs. Okay, so where the theory of planned behavior already has these constructs like attitude, subjective norm, perceived behavioral control, intention, and behavior, researchers add another construct to this well-built theory through qualitative research. Okay, so if I am doing this model, if I'm applying this model on, say, purchase of green products. Suppose I am applying this model on the purchase of green products, and what does this model say? This model says that attitude, subjective norms of a person, and the perceived behavioral control will impact the intention of purchase and the purchase behavior of an individual. This is exactly what the model says. Now, if tomorrow I feel that, and of course, past literature should show, if tomorrow I feel that there could be other factors which could lead to the intention of purchase of sustainable goods, I can do a qualitative research for it. So if I do a qualitative research of Indians where they tell me what are the factors which lead to the purchase intention of green products, they might just say convenience is one of the parameters. Another person might say economy is one of the parameters before I go and purchase a green product. A third person might say variety is a very big factor when I go and purchase the product. So now if through a PI I get variety, economy, convenience as factors impacting purchase intention, I can add those three new variables into this model. So now in this model, apart from attitudes, subjective norms, perceived behavioral control, after I have done a qualitative research for green behavior, I can add up convenience, variety, and price. So there'll be 6 factors which will impact the purchase intention. And this is exactly what I write in my paper also. Once I've done a qualitative research, I write that these were the old constructs. When I say old constructs, I mean standard constructs, attitude, subjective norm, perceived behavioral control, which were given in the theory of planned behavior. And I have extended the theory. In every paper, you are supposed to be giving what have you done to take the research further. If you don't give that niche of what you have done, it will not get published. It will just not get published. If the research is not novel, if you've not added to a theory, a present theory, the paper will not get published. So through qualitative research, if you add some 3 parameters, 3 are already there. It was already given by the theorist, attitude, subjective norms, and perceived behavioral control. If you add another 3 and say, okay, these are another 3 which impact intention, then that is what is a novel research. And to find out these 3 new factors, you will have to do a qualitative study with Indians, asking them what are the factors that impact the intention to purchase green products. Okay, so I hope the essence of qualitative research or why we are doing qualitative research is clear. So that's the last point, which says for generating new constructs or new theories. Now, let us find out that what are the types of qualitative research. So the first type of qualitative research is when I do research with secondary data. So, most of the conceptual research papers are made from secondary data. So when I say secondary data, there are nowadays many papers which are being made. They are called review papers. And now there's a new term which is systematic literature review papers. I would like to show you a few because I do have samples of them. So I'll just show you the papers made with. So yeah, sample papers. So I'll first show you a conceptual paper. This is a conceptual paper. If you thought that for making a paper, I have to know quantitative analysis, you are mistaken. In the first year of your PhD, the first thing we tell students is that before you even go and learn the quantitative techniques of correlation, chi-square, structural equational modeling, first go and write a basic review paper. We don't even tell them to go and do a qualitative research, empirical qualitative research through personal interview. We first tell them, go and write a review paper. So what happens in a review paper? The concept that you have started studying in a PhD, when you review hundreds of articles and then write the crux of it, you learn about that topic. Okay, so this is one of the conceptual papers, customer engagement behavior, on customer engagement. So, look at this model. So they've actually, through past papers, so look at the amount of papers you can imagine which this person might have read, might have analyzed, but everything is secondary data. This person has not gone empirical at all. Neither has he done a quantitative primary research, nor has he done a qualitative primary research. He has just constructed this model on the basis of all the past studies that he got, and he just consolidated the antecedents and consequences of a particular construct called customer engagement behavior. Okay, so this is what we call a conceptual paper. It is absolutely qualitative. You can see not a single word of quantitative analysis is present in a conceptual paper. Okay, although any sort of a qualitative paper, be it a review paper, which could be conceptual, which could be systematic literature review, there is an amount of subjectivity attached to it, because of which publishing papers with qualitative research is a little more difficult than quantitative papers. So where quantitative papers, my quantitative papers got through B category journals very easily. ABDC B when I was trying last year, my quantitative papers got through very easily. But this one qualitative paper that I'm going to discuss with you over a period of 2 days in NVIVO, I'm actually going to take you through the process of my paper from the objective till finally I made a conceptual model and the theoretical implications. Everything I'm going to take you through. That particular paper initially got rejected from so many A category journals, and then finally we settled for B, and now it should be through an emerald. So I'm telling you, it's a long journey. It needs a lot of patience. So this is a conceptual paper. I told you that the past papers are seen and a concept is, analyzed, summarized through a lot of papers that come in the past 10 to 20 years. Another type of paper I want to show you in this is all secondary data. So I'm giving you an example of secondary data is the SLR paper. So this is what we called an SLR paper, systematic literature review. It is very, very famous technique nowadays. There are many papers which are coming out with this technique. So it's called a systematic literature review paper, and you'll see that again here, somewhere around. It's a very systematic. So this is one paper which is just not written only qualitative. There is some sort of a systematic analysis done. So in this sort of paper, we have to tell the reader. Or we have to tell the reviewer that which were the databases we took papers from. So the author has described that I used EBSCO and Scopus and Web of Science, and from each of these, how many papers did you take? So see, he's written how many papers did I take from EBSCO, how many from Scopus, how many from Web of Science, also which were the keywords he used. Okay, so if he used green marketing, okay, he took 291 papers from here, 300, 320. So he's actually, he has to very systematically define the keywords he used, the databases he used, the number of papers he took. And then finally, he, after doing all this, he summarizes some concepts, like, for example, in this paper, he has summarized that if he used some 114 secondary data papers, which were the major journals from which they came. So this research paper, if you read, is a research paper of SLR, Systematic Literature Review, where the author defines that out of the 114 papers that he took on green marketing, which were the major journals which have published these sort of papers. Okay, so that is one analysis. Another analysis which he's done in the paper, of course, this is a little different from a conceptual paper. Another analysis he's done is that which are the domains in green marketing where he found papers. So out of those 114 papers, which he collected over a span of 20 years. So those 114 papers come from some 20 years of literature, secondary data papers, and he defines that which are the major fields on which people are working. So segmentation, targeting, positioning, which are the major fields that they worked on when it came to green marketing. So this is a typical SLR paper, systematic literature review paper. Back to the point that I was describing. So secondary data can be a source of writing a qualitative paper. It could be a source of writing conceptual paper. It could be a source of writing an SLR paper, a systematic literature review paper. We used to have something called a basic review paper. So a review paper which is neither a conceptual paper nor is it a SLR. But gone are those days when we used to write a simple review paper. I have been reviewing for A category journals in ABDC. I think somewhere around 5-6 A category journals send me their papers, especially of sustainable consumption, which is my field. And I don't see a single paper on basic review, not a single paper on basic review. So I only see either conceptual papers where they've used secondary data, like I showed you, they've made up a model of antecedents and consequences, or they write SLR papers where they summarize in some way the past research of 20 years taken together, and they summarize it in the sense of which were the journals where it was submitted or which were the topics in which they had worked, and then finally conclude that, okay, this is the gap from the past 20 years of secondary research. This is the gap. Okay, so this is one type of papers that you will find. You will find papers on projective techniques. So projective techniques, the key word of projective techniques is hidden feelings. Okay, so projective techniques is one method of research which psychologists use very often. So psychologists use projective techniques. When a teenager comes to a psychologist, he's depressed and he comes to a psychologist. The problem is that he doesn't want to speak. I want to get qualitative data from him, but he doesn't want to speak. And he has a problem. He's going through a trauma, but he's not ready to speak it up. So at that point of time, a psychologist, of course, you have to be trained for this. This is not something that any researcher can get up and do. We need certified psychologists to do this process. Okay, so even if you're doing a research for, say, consumer behavior or marketing topic, you will need a qualified person to analyze the results of projective techniques. You cannot do it. Okay, there are qualified psychologists. So how they do it, I'll just give you an example. If you see the second picture on the slide, this is an abstract, picture. It doesn't make sense. It's actually not an animal or a human being or anything. But we show this picture to the sample from whom we need qualitative data, and then we compulsorily tell him to write a paragraph of, say, 500 words on this picture. Now, ideally, if you see, this picture is nothing. Okay, so ideally, if you see, there is nothing in the picture. It's a very abstract picture. But when we tell him compulsorily to define this picture in 500 words, at that point of time, he will express something. And when he's describing this picture, which ideally is nothing, this picture is just nothing. So when he describes this picture, he brings out his inner hidden feelings and attitudes. Okay, this is just one sort of a projective technique test. Another type of projective technique test which is done is sentence completion or story completion. Okay, so for example, in sentence completion, if I want to measure the stress of an employee in a company because of his boss, okay, so we will give him sentences like, in projective techniques, we will give him sentences like, I think my boss is a perfect person because dash, or I feel good about my boss because dash, or I feel bad about my boss because dash. So the respondent is going to fill up words, fill up text, and I am going to take up that and analyze it through qualitative analysis with the use of a software like NVIVO. I can show you an example of, I'm switching the screen very often. If at any point of time you can't see the screen, please do let me know. Now, this is one example of a projective technique paper. I'll be sending you all these papers. Okay, so here in this research paper, they have used projective technique and they have used it for market research. And what they did is they actually took interviews and tried to find out something called a psychological prejudice. Okay, so they have actually done a qualitative market research through projective techniques. Okay, and they have tried to find out if their consumers have a psychological prejudice. For example, sometimes the consumers have a psychological prejudice towards products which are imported. Okay, so the products which are made by foreign companies, they have a prejudice towards them more than the ones made with an Indian company. So yesterday I was hearing an interview of this company, if I'm not wrong, it's Biotech, the one which made Covaxin. Okay, the company which made Covaxin, that's an Indian company. Okay, and I was just hearing him out. He said that people were a little had a little bit of inclination towards Covishield or an inclination towards Pfizer's vaccine because I'm an Indian company and it was made in India. So once now that it is successful, and Covaxin, of course, the Indian company Covaxin has a very good rate of success. Okay, so because it has a very good rate of Bharat Biotech, that I think, yeah, that's the company, Biotech, Bharat Biotech. So now that it has a good rate of success, now people are going for it. People are voluntarily going for a Covaxin, and if it gets recognized by the health bodies, the international health bodies, it will become one of the best vaccines. But when it came into India, somewhere around Jan 2021, it was available to people above, say 60 years of age, but people were not ready to try it. And the prejudice was that it's an Indian vaccine. So if I want to find out something like this from my consumer, that is my product, is the consumer having a psychological or prejudice or not? That is when I use projective techniques in marketing. Because, when I ask a consumer that, do you have a prejudice? If I ask you such a direct question, most of the times the consumer will not answer me, or he'll answer the positive thing. He'll say, no, I don't have prejudice. It is thus a projective technique that I have to use to find out his inner feelings. What does he actually mean? Does he have a prejudice or does he not have a psychological prejudice? So that's about projective techniques. The next one is what we call ethnography. So ethnography was actually invented by Bronislaw Malinowski in 1915. It is actually a technique in which ethno, the word ethno over here means ethnic. Okay, so when I say ethnic, it means culture. Okay, so in projective techniques, the key word was hidden feelings. Ethnography talks about the study of a culture or an environment. Okay, so mostly in cultural studies, we go for a qualitative research technique called ethnography. In ethnography, the researcher has to immerse himself in the target participant's environment. So it's not that you just go and take a PI in a way that you're detached with the sample. It's not that way. It actually what happens is that you have to, sorry, I changed my screen, sorry. Yeah, so you have to immerse yourself into the environment of the respondents. And this was first done by Bronislaw Malinowski somewhere around 1915, when he spent some 3 years in the Trobriand Islands and actually studied their culture. He wrote books and papers about this culture. especially about traditions related to the jewelry ornaments like kula rings, etc. And this is a technique in which we use many data collection methods. So we can use a PI, we can use an observation, we can use diaries, we can use pictures. Okay, anything can be used to generate data out of ethnic or ethnography. Correct. So that's about ethnography. The ethical concern over here is that should I tell the respondent that I'm a researcher or not? So if I tell the respondent that I'm a researcher, he manipulates his data. So he sort of, changes his data. But if I don't tell him that I'm a researcher, then there are ethical concerns also. So I'll give you one example of an ethical concern when we submit papers in journals. So there was this one journal called Journal of Business Ethics, which is an A category journal, and I was submitting a paper to this, and my paper got through the review stage. So it didn't get desk rejected, it got through review. But when it got through review, I was really scared because I saw on their website, they said that, and all these good journals, what they do is they want a consent form from those 515 people that you have, either interviewed or, surveyed or whatever. They need a consent form from these people that they were not forced to participate into the research and they are participating with their own will. So you can imagine the amount of, and then Journal of Business Ethics and good journals sometimes even call for data set. So, you have to give your data set to them for them to check the findings, recalculate and check the findings so that they are sure that something that they are publishing is genuinely authentic. Okay, this is the case with, this is the case with A and A star category journals. So ethics is one concern in ethnography. You can't get emotional. Obviously, if you're staying with a person for 3 years, you might just get emotional. But here it's something like, as they say in that movie Munna Bhai MBBS, that the patient is only a subject to us. Okay, so we have to consider these people whose culture we are, studying for a very long period of time as subjects. Okay, in management, an example of this is that one of the brands which is trying to come to India is Brunello Cucinelli. This is a luxury brand by the name of Brunello Cucinelli. It is trying to come to India and it's doing a cultural study. It's doing a cultural study to understand that what are the colors that these people like in winter. So Brunello Cucinelli comes with very pastel colors, camel colors, blacks, browns. But it is found out through qualitative research, through ethnographic study for months together, which its marketers do, that Indians are fond of bright colors in winter. So the reds and oranges and yellows are something that is, that is very prominently liked in India, vis-a-vis camel colors, etc. when it comes to cardigans. So this is one example of how you apply ethnography. Let me see if I have a paper of ethnography. I should be having, but I'll just check. Okay, I don't have a paper of ethnography, although yeah, so I'll have to search one probably. I'll just give me 1 minute. No, I don't have a paper of in samples. I don't have ethnographic study, but I can send you one of them, especially in the marketing domain. Another type of study which is very common and very wrongly used is the case study. Okay, now I would like to speak for a few minutes on this because this is very common. I want to tell you the relevance of this, so give me 1 minute. I'm taking you to this website. So if you make a case study, don't waste it in any not so good conference. These are, if you ever make a case study, these are this is a website of Emerald. Even I found it out lately because I don't write case studies.
Ma'am, your voice is very low.
Is it? Is it? Am I audible?
No, no, ma'am, it is audible.
It's better. It's better
Acha, acha.
now, ma'am. Yes.
Acha.
Ma'am, your screen is not visible.
It is visible, ma'am. Please
It
check
is
your
visible.
screen.
It is visible. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Visible, na? Acha.
Yes.
In case there is
Okay.
any such problem, do let me know. Actually, I'm a little too loud, but that's why I keep the volume at 50. But if you say, I've now increased it to 100%.
Yes, it is much better, ma'am. Thank
ठीक
you.
है. Because actually, I'm by default very loud, so I don't keep.
But हमें अच्छा लग रहा है मैम सुन करके.
चलो ठीक है, ठीक है. So this is it's an emerald publication. My only point is when you're doing so much of effort into qualitative research, case study, if you understand case study, which I'll make you understand, please don't waste your cases in, some, lately I'll not name the institute. It was a very good level management institute where they said that we have a repository, so give me your case study, and I did not give it. So not that I'm anti any good institute, and I don't, but when I've done so much of, and I'll tell you the amount of, mehnat which goes into a case study. So if you get to a case study, see, go to this website of Emerald. Okay, these are all case study competitions. Correct, and these are all case study competitions. They are all Emerald's case study competitions. There are prizes to these also. If you ever get through a case study, please at least go to one of these competitions. Okay, and once you get through this competition, and even if your paper is selected, I'm not saying that your paper will get a first prize or a second prize, but when you go through these competitions, and some papers are selected for these competitions, they get published in a Scopus Emerald book. Okay, and this is one of the actual journals, Emerald Emerging Market Case Competition. Okay, so this is one journal, emerging Emerald Emerging Markets. Okay, where there are all, see, there is a special issue call also, and awards. Look at the awards. They are somewhere around like $1,000, $4,000, etc. And the good thing is that the cases get published. So see, selected cases will be published. So one, you win the competition, at least participate in a competition. The second, your case will get published in Emerald Emerging Case Market Case Studies. Now this is supposed to be a Scopus journal. Okay, so at least do this with the case study. Okay, now what is a case study? So case study is something which you can do even if you are not, or should I say, research literate. So even if you don't know very hi-fi research, if you know basic qualitative research, if you know how to make a case study, and we all are into the faculty line, we should know how to make a case study, how to make a teaching case study. Okay, but what we have to understand in a case study is the essence of case study. So I'll show you one of my case studies which I have submitted to this journal which I showed you. So Emerging Markets Emerald Journal, I've submitted. It's a Scopus journal. Let's see how it fares. But I've just submitted it to this, so I'll show you that also. So see, the essence of a case study I have understood with this example, and I would like to give this credit of this example to Dr. Prabhakar. Way back in 2019, I was doing a seminar on qualitative research in IIT Delhi, where Dr. Prabhakar from AMU University, he gave me this example, and then I studied further, and now I use it in my, it was a very good example. So once, my student comes to me and she says that, ma'am, I want to do a case study. I said, well and good, go ahead. And most of my PG students are working with industry. So the best thing they can do in academic writing is writing a case study. They are students, they can't write too much of research papers. So I do get them into case study writing, and they understand the industry problem also. So she came to me, she said, ma'am, I want to do a case study. I said, go ahead, do a case study. Ma'am, I'll do a case study on business ethics. I said, well and good, please go ahead, do it, good topic, go ahead. After 2 weeks, she comes back to me And she says, ma'am, I'm ready with my sample. Hear this out very carefully. I said, okay, so what's your sample size? Ma'am, I have chosen some 20 companies on which I'm going to make a case study of business ethics. So I told her, beta, before you make a case study, go back now and read the book of Malhotra and Dash. It's Marketing Research Methods by Malhotra and Dash. Go and read that book. It will be some 800 pages, but please read that, because a case study is made generally on only one sample. So for all of you hearing me, a case study is supposed to be something so unique that if you're making a case study about one brand, it cannot happen with the other. So if the Harvard Business Review people came to the Mumbai Dabbawalas and they made a case study of the level of, there's just no error with the Dabbawalas. So the Dabbawalas are the Dabbawalas, and there's not going to be any other organization like them. So the Dabbawalas by itself, one company by itself, is more than enough to do a case study. I would like to reiterate this point by this one case study, which actually came up with a new psychological theory. And this was done by Dr. Harlow. Dr. Harlow was a medical doctorate. So it's more like a story. So this man that you see on the screen is a person called Phineas Gage. There are some 23 textbooks which have been written on this man and his life. Phineas Gage was not an academician, by the way, so he was a very simple person. He's a guinea pig, like we say, we need a guinea pig for a case study. He became a guinea pig for case study. Coincidentally, unfortunately, he was working in the factory when a 3 mm rod, in an explosion in the factory, a 3 mm rod went into his brain in the exact position which is shown in the slide. With due apologies to all those who find these pictures horrendous, but I'm just trying to explain the essence of case study. Now, ideally, when a rod, in medical study, they say if a rod passes through a human brain in the exact position that you can see, a man should ideally be dead. But I mean, by the time the rod passed through Phineas Gage, he was not a case study, because this sort of a position of brain damage is so very prominent in medical, research. He became a case study because in this exact position, he stood up. Forget dying, he was not even unconscious. He walks down to his doctor, narrates all that happened, which means he had a perfect memory. He sits, stand up, does gestures to show what happened to him, where it's paining him. And he also memorized, he clearly remembered the colleagues who helped him out and who brought him to the hospital. So now, for Dr. Harlow, who received Phineas Gage in the hospital, it is now that he became a case study. A man in this position should have been dead. And Dr. Harlow actually received a case study in his hospital, sitting there, sitting idle over there. Idle, I mean, as in, of course, he wasn't doing a research. This man just became a topic of research and came into his hospital. After a few months of recovery, so, this man was very optimistic. He said, the doctor, I probably will be discharged in another 2 days. You just get this rod off and I'll get discharged in another 2 days, and I want to go back to work because, my payments are due in XYZ. And after months of treatment, he was discharged from the hospital. But for Dr. Harlow, he had become a case study, so Dr. Harlow couldn't leave him. So what Dr. Harlow did is, Dr. Harlow started following him. Dr. Harlow started following him in all the jobs that he went to, different places Phineas Gage worked. And Dr. Harlow started asking his colleagues that, is there any change in him after that accident? Is there any problem in his motor skills or his speed of work or his efficiency in work, productivity? Is there a problem? And all the colleagues said, there is no problem. The only thing that they said had changed was his behavior. They said he was a very decent man, very jovial man, very witty. So they said he was very jovial, he used to be very witty. And now his overall personality has changed to be dumb. That is the only problem. Otherwise, work-wise, he's good. Skills are perfect, memory perfect, motor skills perfect. From here, this is way back in 1950s, 18 something, you know, so this case study is way back in 80 something. When people used to think that personality is only a physical trait. So if you're tall, dark, fair, handsome, that is what is personality. It is after this case study that Dr. Harlow added to the theory. I just told you adding to the theory. I told you theory of reasoned action or purchase behavior. I just told you that theory, a theory of planned behavior. So Dr. Harlow added to this theory of personality and said that personality is related to the brain. So that cognitive part of personality was something that was proven after this case study. Now my question to the participants is that if Dr. Harlow had this one Phineas gauge, should he have waited for the other? He shouldn't have waited. In his whole life of 40 years of career, a person like Phineas Gage with this sort of a complication will not come. Forget Dr. Harlow. In the whole medical community, this man is till date studied as a case study. Because a case is only and only one. It is a technique of qualitative research where one sample is enough. So now when I call that student and I explain to her who was Phineas Gage, I tell her that if you really want to do a case study, one company is more than enough. So I'll give you examples. Let me give you an example of a case study. So these are the ex-owners supposedly of the company, the legend called Ranbaxy. These guys and the company Ranbaxy, I teach them as a case study for family business progression, so succession, sorry. So in a subject by the name of entrepreneurship, okay, there is a topic which is called family business succession. Whom should you give your business to? Should you give it to the sons? Should you give it to a qualified person and discriminate, or should you, they say that the management and ownership should be kept separate? You're the owner of the company, that's okay, but the management should be kept separate. So this one company Ranbaxy, one company is more than enough to prove the point that if you wrongly, if your successor is a family person and wrongly a family person, it can ruin the company. Okay, so many crore of so many $1,000 they had as a company. Ranbaxy was a global pharmaceutical, which today has been sold off, and with all due regards, these people are they have been sued for fraud. A perfect case study of how a dynasty can be brought down by wrong business succession. One company is more than enough for a case study. Okay, so that is an example of a case study in case you're trying to do it when you are trying to do it in your own domains. One sample is more than enough. The whole story is about one sample. So what that girl did wrong when she came to me is, she came to me and she said, ma'am, I am doing a case study of business ethics on 20 companies. That 20 companies was the only line that was wrong. She should have said, I am doing a business ethics case study on a company like Satyam, a defaulter like Satyam. I would have taken it as a case study. Agreed. So case study is something that can only be done on either one sample or max to max 2 samples you can get. If you come and say, I have 30 samples in a case study, it is not a case study. Number one. Number two, a case study has to have a problem. So lately I was in this conference where one of my PhD students had presented a case study. I do motivate them for case study because it's a little easier than academic writing. So she was there in a case study and there were people who were presenting all sorts of case studies. So there was one ma'am who came with Zomato as a case study. There was another who came with Tata as a case study. And they went on and on telling what is good in Tata. They went on and on telling what is good in Zomato. And they ended the case study. And at the end of the session, the lady who was chairing the panel, she said, where is the problem? Please, whichever field you're working in, whether it's HR or whether it's economics, finance, marketing, ethics, whichever field you're working in, please be assured that if there isn't a problem in the company and the company is very, very rosy, so if everything is good in Tata, Tata cannot be a case study. If everything is good in Apple, Apple cannot be a case study. If everything is good with H&M, H&M cannot be a case study. A case study has to have a problem. And when you write a case study, you don't solve the problem, you just present the problem. The problem has to be solved by the student. You are a faculty, you are making a case study for the student. Give him the problem, introduce him to the company, introduce him to the problem of the company, give him appendices like the exhibits, etc. Give him data, but don't give him the solution of the problem. The solution of the problem is something that he's supposed to be finding. The Emerald case studies that I showed you, if you want to publish in them, they will ask you for teaching case studies. So, they're going to take a case study from you, plus they are going to take teaching notes and teaching questions also for that case study for you. And this is a part of qualitative research. Even if you don't know stats, you can do it. Another type of qualitative research, and this is actually what we are going to do the next 2 days, is called content analysis. Okay. When we analyze PI data, so suppose, sometimes, I don't do ethnography, I don't do grounded theory, I don't do case study. I just want to find out some small problem in the company, a problem which is prevalent everywhere. For example, how to increase sales in COVID. Suppose this is the problem. Now I go to a company and I do a PI of some 20 to 40 people and I bring the personal interview transcripts. Transcripts means the whole data that I've got from one person. So this is a transcript. Okay, so this is what I collected. This set of 4 to 5 questions and the total answer that was there. This is called a transcript. And I can show you better transcripts. I'll show you one of my original transcripts. I would not be able to send you all. I can send you one although, but can't send you all because the paper is still under publication. So this is a paper that I was working on. Tomorrow, of course, I'm going to start working on this paper in NVIVO. So I actually made this paper with NVIVO. So I am going to show you how I made it through NVIVO, but I'll just show you one of the transcripts. Yeah, so because this is just a sample, I'm showing you full transcript. So this is my transcript. Okay, you can see question, answer, question, answer. Look at the amount of answers. One very big problem which people do in content analysis is that they bring me PIs where there is only a yes and no. And then they say, please analyze this on NVIVO. No person can analyze on NVIVO or otherwise manually if you bring the answer of qualitative research questions as yes and no, 28 years. If these are your answers, it cannot be analyzed on earth. Forget NVIVO or manually. So this is my transcript. You can see how exhaustive it is. And I can proudly say the student that I'm talking about, I'll not name her, of course, but the student I'm talking about and who's working on spirituality, she is one person who's got a better transcript than me. I can say that that scholar has worked even more harder than what I worked. And this transcript that I worked on, supposedly, which for me is perfect, is somewhere around 2,600 words. Okay, so even if I take out some 600 words as a part of question, at least 2,000 words of data I have got from my respondents. Okay, so you can see how exhaustive a transcript is. Transcript means all the questions and the answers that I get through a personal interview from one respondent. Okay, so that is what is a transcript. So when I get some 25 to 45 such transcripts, okay, I have to do something called a content analysis and a thematic analysis on them. What is content analysis? All these transcripts that come to me, whether they are diaries, whether they are PIs, whether they are audios, videos, whatever they are, I have to analyze them because they are text or they are narratives. Okay, so I have to analyze them, and content analysis means I do the counting. C for content, C for counting. Content analysis means I am going to count and do an analysis. So, you know, suppose there's a research which I'm doing where, you know, I'm asking the employees whether they are happy with artificial intelligence or not. And they use the word stress in those 45 transcripts. The word stress comes some 102 times. I'm just assuming. How to find out 102, that we'll do on NVIVO. But just that after analysis, I find that the word stress has come 102 times in 40 transcripts, which means 40 people's PI. Now, what do I conclude with this? What do I conclude with this? That after an AI was, artificial intelligence was applied on the company and everybody was told to adhere to it, people got into stress. Now, this counting of words and then analyzing is called content analysis. Content counting. There's a second type of analysis which we can do on general PIs, personal interviews, which are not ethnographic, non-case study, non-grounded, etc. This type of analysis is called thematic analysis. Now, how do we do thematic analysis, or what is thematic analysis? We convert all that has been said by these people into themes. Okay, I'll give you an example. Suppose I do some 40 interviews of people and ask them that how do they feel when artificial intelligence has been applied on them. Okay, compulsorily the company said everybody from today is going to work on AI. Now I am new to AI, I don't know AI, and I have been told no, everybody will work on AI. Now, after I have been told this, what are the major problems people have that become themes? So one of the biggest problem people said, I'm talking about an actual paper. So I'll just explain what is content analysis with a sample paper. So I luckily have a sample paper for everything.
Sorry to interrupt you, ma'am.
Yes, yes.
Jaspreet, ma'am, a few of the participants have raised their hands.
They have raised their hands. Should
Yes.
I stop?
No. You want to complete the topic and then take us this question answer session, or in between you'll take?
I am just about to finish in 10 minutes. I will finish at 5. I will answer all questions and I will also try and get them through the NVIVO thing. Just 5 minutes. You can ask me questions. Just 5 minutes. I want to end and then. So what was I showing you? So in Just a second, I'll show you one paper. I want to talk about thematic analysis. Okay, I'm talking about thematic analysis in qualitative research. So this is a paper, and I can proudly say it's a paper by two good Indians. Okay, and this is being published in an A category journal, a qualitative paper being published in an A category journal. Nishtha Malik, Shalini Natrapati, Jaipuriya Institute, and Arpam Kaur sir is very, very famous. He's from IIT. Okay. So this is a paper being published now. Here, you know, they asked the impact of artificial intelligence on employees working in the leading organizations, okay, top-notch organizations, and look at the themes they came out with. So the analysis, I'll just come to that. So these are the major themes they found out. They said we see information security and data privacy will not be there. They said that I have a job risk because artificial intelligence will come. They said I will have an increased stress and overload. They said I find it difficult managing this change. They said with artificial intelligence, managers will become biased in decision making and there will be a misinformation management. So these are the major themes that came out of those 40 to 35. They have done 35 interviews with a company on which AI had been implemented. Okay, so these are what are called themes. So content analysis and thematic analysis is what we are going to do the next 2 days. Okay. Apart from this, there are just 2 slides left. One is something called a grounded theory. So grounded theory, so in all these theories, in all these methods that I told you there is a theory we have to take as a base and add on variables to it. So I showed you theories of planned behavior. And I told you that I have to add variables, new variables to it, and that is what is my contribution in qualitative research. But in a grounded theory, it is the only type of research where I do not have to take a past theory as a base. So Glaser and Strauss had given the grounded theory. They did an experiment, or they did a research on people who were admitted in the hospital in their last lapse of life. So, you know, if unfortunately a person is living his last 6 months and he has to be hospitalized, if he comes back home, he'll collapse. So for 6 months, the last 6 months of his life, if he's living in the hospital, Glaser and Strauss wanted to know that did the physician or the health workers' attitude change towards such people? So, you know, did the physicians and health workers treat such people who are in the last lap of their life and staying in the hospital for their last 6 months or 1 year? Did the physician or the health worker have a changed attitude towards them vis-a-vis the normal patients who are there only say for 3 days of surgery or 4 days and they go back home? And for this, they started doing a research. In any of these types of research, even in the grounded theory, you can do PIs, diaries, videos, audios. You can use many types of secondary data. There are many types of data collections that you can use. But Glaser and Strauss came up with their own theory, and the new variable that they brought out in their theory was theology. So they said that these nurses and health workers, when they, spoke to these people, the ones who were in the hospital for their last 6 months, they did in their script while taking care of them add things like God is great. Okay, God is going to help you. Okay, and you will be absolutely fine. You have lived a lovely life. Your family is well settled. So this sort of theological counseling, especially things to do with God, a good life, a happy ending, all these theological themes he found were unique to these people when it came to health workers. These themes were not spoken about by nurses and health practitioners to other people. Other as in the ones who have come for a 3-day surgery or something like this. So grounded theory is the only and only theory where you can make up your own theory. All variables are yours. All theory relationships are yours. You do not take a present theoretical framework as a base. It can only be done in grounded theory. But having said that, if I don't have a theoretical base and I am creating my own theory, you can imagine the difficulty in getting published a paper. This is one technique I've not tried. I've tried case study, I've tried conceptual paper, I've tried systematic literature review, I have tried content analysis. I've tried all these 4. I have never tried grounded theory because you can imagine how strong you have to be conceptually to build up your own theory. You are saying this is a new theory that I am giving. So you can imagine how strong the qualitative research and its analysis has to be. The last type of qualitative research is phenomenology. A phenomenological research is done on an event activity of phenomena. So the biggest phenomena is in the past 2 years is COVID. It's something like, you know, in Hindi we say that, okay, this ye kabhi nahi hua aur kabhi nahi hoga. So in English, if I convert that, it says that an event that has not happened and will not happen in future. So there will be epidemics which might just come in future, but something like COVID is first of its time. When you collect data in a phenomenological study, it is always best that you collect data when the phenomenon is happening. So right now, when the COVID is still there, if you go and interview people and ask them, are you skeptical about shopping? The type of qualitative data you'll get right now, you will not get it from those same people 10 years down the line. They'll forget. People tend to forget events. People tend to forget phenomena. People tend to forget the trauma with the phenomena also. So if you really want to get the psyche of a real consumer during COVID, now is the time go and get data. Once this time passes by in another 5 years, if you ask a person, okay, there was something called COVID, did you purchase or did you save? Probably that data that he gives you is going to be a little different from when the phenomena happened. So this is what is called a phenomenological study. So now I can stop for questions and help you in the downloading of NVIVO. Yeah, so who I can. So I think Swati is the person who's raised their hand. Swati Luthra.
Yes.
Yes, please. Yes.
So my question is that I attended a webinar on case study, how to write it, and in that webinar, the speaker has told us that one second. Yeah, so the speaker told us that you will have to seek authorization from the the particular company that you're writing the case study on. So like you said, this example of this person who had his rod and this rod stuck in his skull, and the other person, the doctor, followed him, so there was no consent from that person.
There was a consent.
There was a consent. So like, how do we seek that consent from the companies? How do we go about it?
It's a written consent, at least an email. So I have lately done a case study on a company called Mango People. So she's a alumni of Pearl Academy. Okay, she passed out from Pearl Academy, and she's doing pretty well in the market. So we asked for a consent because, you know, especially the exhibits that we have got for the case study are her financial reports, her company's financial reports, her product. She's been kind enough to give me her product range and the prices also, cost price. I'm not talking about MRPs, I'm talking about cost price. She's given me that also. We need to get a consent. And if you don't get a consent, you must have seen these case studies, which don't name the company. So they said, I went into the XYZ office. You might have to look for journals which publish such case studies where they say, okay, XYZ, rather than naming the consent is important.
Oh,
Content is
fine. Thank you.
yes. Asha Sanat, I see another hand raised. Asha Sanat,
Yeah, hello, ma'am.
and then Harshit. After Asha, I see Harshit. Yeah, Asha. Yes.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I. Yes.
Yeah. You talked about projective techniques,
Yes.
right? Who has developed projective techniques and how do we use it when we say the picture that you showed? And also the second question is the patient with the depression. How do we use for a depression patient to write 500 words?
Ma'am, so who developed projective techniques? There are many projective techniques. For example, there's something called an ink blot test. See, there are hundreds of projective techniques. So there's something called an ink blot test where, um, we give them a page with different ink blots and we try to see if they're getting irritated with the bigger blots or the smaller blots. Now, this was given by a man called Rorschach. So it's called the Rorschach ink blot test. So similarly, different tests have been given by different psychologists. Now, how do we analyze that? Ma'am, we researchers cannot analyze that. So I'll give you an example. When I was doing my PhD way back in 2009 and I did not know statistics, I was allowed, and PhD allows you. You can take a consultancy of a statistician to get an ANOVA done. The only thing is you should know how to interpret the results. Similarly, in a projective technique, I would never tell you to do it yourself. We have to be qualified. Qualified means there are certifications for them. If you don't have, please contact some psychologists who can do it for you because even the tool is theirs. They'll do this.
Okay.
That is how you can get data. You should know how to interpret it and represent it in a research.
Okay. And the second question is, can we ask a depression patient to write 500 words by seeing the picture? Is it the methodology, or how do we go about with that? Sorry?
There's a disturbance at your end. I cannot hear you. Yeah. So, Asha ma'am, a depressive patient, the biggest problem is he doesn't talk to you. The problem is he doesn't talk. You might not show him a horrendous picture like this, but maybe you can show him a girl smiling, a positive picture, and tell him to write something. So yes, sometimes we don't even show them pictures. This is just one of the techniques. Sometimes we tell him to write about himself. Even if you ask him a question like, how was your day in college? Can you please describe it in 500 words? If he describes, we'll come to know if he's having a problem in college or not. If I say describe a day with your parents, I give him another 500 words to write. It's qualitative data. Maybe then I can analyze if he has a problem with his parents. Not I, a qualified psychologist. So this is a technique which comes from psychology, but it is used instead of a depressive patient, we have the consumer. Okay, but this technique is used in research to get data.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Yes, Harshit.
Good evening, ma'am. Ma'am, am I audible?
I think, yeah, now it's okay, but she's on.
Hello.
Yeah. Now it's okay.
Thank you, ma'am. First of all, the session has been going like really good. You've clarified a lot of my doubts in the first class itself. I have this one peculiar doubt from my end. So for my PhD thesis right now, I'm taking up a qualitative method and precisely an exploratory study. So when I had to present to my research committee, the number of participants that I would be evolving into this particular study, I had taken up a small sample, knowing that exploratory study cannot be done with a huge sample. But the committee had suggested to increase the sample size.
Harshita, there was a disturbance at your end. I couldn't hear you. The last line I couldn't hear you. I heard that there's a committee and you've given them a sample size. What is the sample size you've given them?
Ma'am, I had given them a sample size of 25. And I had already kind of spoken to these people and I told them that I will be getting in touch with you, and they had agreed willfully. Now, when I had put this forward to the committee, they were saying that, go beyond 50 at least. So I don't know how far for a PhD thesis should we go, should we stick to the 30-50 like you had told for the ABC journals and all, or should I go beyond 50? What do you suggest?
Harshita ma'am, first thing is I would not suggest you anything except for what your PhD guide has said. Even if he says 500, first thing is take 500 also. don't argue with him. That no, qualitative research. You're going to do for 3 years. 50 is not a very big number.
Okay.
For a research paper, we take 30 plus. For an A category research paper, we take 30 plus. A research paper is only 8 to 10,000 words. A PhD is a for PhD. Please go by that.
All right. Thank you so much for that clarification.
Okay. Are there any questions? I can't see the chat. Is there a chat at all?
We were not allowed to communicate on the chat, ma'am. It is only available to the team members.
No, ma'am, if you wish, if you want, then you can ask here by raising your hands. Any one of the participants who want.
Anybody else who wants to ask a question before
it's an open platform, ma'am. You can go ahead with asking the questions from the participants.
Okay.
If anyone wants, yes.
Anybody who wants to ask a question regarding all that I've told you till now? Okay, so how many of you have not downloaded the NVIVO till now? If not, then I'm just telling you the steps for the same. So NVIVO has to be downloaded from, I've given you the link. Ritika ma'am, you have the link, correct?
Yes, all the link have been shared with the participants in the group also, and through mail also. Okay, so they have already access on the same. So I think everyone have joined the this downloaded the NVIVO this software, I guess.
Okay, so if I'm just sharing my screen, if you have downloaded correctly, I'm showing you exactly what you will see in your screen. So because for tomorrow I have to be ready with the analysis. So I'm just sharing my screen. So if you have downloaded NVIVO properly, you will be seeing just too many windows. That's because there were too many explanations. Okay, if you have downloaded NVIVO correctly, you will see this blue icon. Can you see this blue icon? It says NVIVO. My cursor is at the blue icon, and if I click it, double click it, it should open up. Just see, this is what should come, NVIVO, and there should be a window that should open up. I'm showing you that window. If it is not opening up, please do try it right now and tell me where you are stuck. One more thing. Okay, let the window open and then I'll explain that. When you double click on this icon, if you have downloaded, you will get this icon on the window. When you double click it, you will get this page.
Jaspreet ma'am, I have a doubt.
Yeah, please.
Ma'am, actually I have downloaded it. I have got the icon also. When I am double clicking on that particular icon, then it is asking me to log in. Then exactly. When I am logging it with my ID and my password, it is saying that the details are not matching with what you have put in earlier. तो वहाँ पर वो login नहीं करने दे रहा. I have shared the same with Gera sir also.
मैं आपको बता दूं कि आप इस पेज पे गए होंगे. You must have gone on this page.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct. Now you know the first thing you have to do is not download but sign up. So there's something.
Yeah, I did the sign up before downloading it.
But in NVIVO portal, did you sign up? Have you logged in? Have you signed
yes,
up?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. There it asked about my first name, last name, my ID, and a password also required to be set up. I had gone through all those stages.
Okay. Are we allowed share screen? If yes, I would like you to share your screen.
Ma'am, it is disabled for now. I request Ritika
No
ma'am to
problem,
give me
ma'am.
the rights.
Yes, Mayur sir, can we make you a presenter? In that case, you'll
Yeah,
be able
sure,
to
ma'am.
share the screen.
Because this is a problem which will come tomorrow, and if it comes tomorrow, we'll be wasting at least half an hour tomorrow. If this comes tomorrow, everybody who's not downloaded, I am okay. We are telling you the whole process. So Mayur sir has downloaded. He'll tell you the whole process, and I'll tell you where he's getting stuck. What about the rest? Have they downloaded?
Yeah, ma'am, I've got the share screen icon. I'm just doing it. Just give me a moment.
Or else, Jaspreet ma'am, without signing up also, they can, perform these things. They can do that needful. Without signing up also.
If they
can start with a new project.
Sorry?
Means like without signing up also, they can start with a new project, isn't it?
Without signing up? No, ma'am.
Right.
They have to sign up. They have to sign up. That is the problem which happens in most of my seminars, that if you don't sign up and you try and open it up, then it causes problems.
Okay. Because I have also tried one of the two papers where I was doing sentimental analysis also.
Yes, yes.
With that, I have done without signing up, and randomly the new project has been started.
No. First time when you are opening the
okay, first time. Yes. That.
First time you have to sign up. Then after that, the icon, now I've opened the icon. Yeah, so not on this one. Not on this one. NVIVO portal. Not on this one. Go to the NVIVO My portal.
Yeah, ma'am, this is the initial screen that I'm getting when I am double clicking on that icon.
Just cross this.
Okay.
Yeah. Open the QRS website that I told you. Open the QRS website.
What I need to type in, ma'am, on the Google?
Download NVIVO. Just type download.
The first link I need to open up.
Yes.
QSR International.
Yes. QSR International.
Right.
Correct? Now,
yes.
Access my NVIVO portal. Go to the blue one. Access below. Access. Go to this. Sign up over here.
Now it is opening, ma'am.
Exactly. Now that it is open. Okay. Now when you go to that open and try to open it, it should open. So what must have happened? You must have forgotten your password. That's why. Or maybe while typing the password might have been wrong. So the first thing you have to do is log in into this and then open the icon. So now go and try open the icon. Now try and open the icon. Wait. Yeah, log in. It will show you activate and it will say login. So again, you will have to log in with the right. Yeah, log in again. It's a little different process from a normal download. That's why I wanted to tell you this process.
Ma'am, this is what was
Just
coming earlier also.
your NVIVO problem is not settled in any accounts. Check your login. If the problem persists, contact NVIVO.
Ma'am, may I intervene? I was also getting the same error.
Yes.
Actually, when he must have downloaded, no. So by mistake, he must have taken the normal download one, whereas we had to select the download which was for 14 days trial. So I had got this error and I tried. What you need to do, Mayur, I guess, that you have to just go in the control panel and just remove all the, uninstall this NVIVO, and then
Okay.
again do the same process, and this time make sure that you are downloading the trial version, 14 days trial version. You can follow the link which has been sent in the group, WhatsApp group, from the
Sorry,
same link.
sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt. This is Dr. Amit from GL Bajaj Institute of Management and Research, Greater Noida. I think I think there is a different problem. I think he should go to his mail inbox and he should confirm. He should validate the message which he
No, that
has
he must
got.
have done, sir. That he must have done.
No, no,
After that,
I have
this error was
see
coming.
what I faced the similar problem, and after validating the link from the mail,
Mayur, have you
it
done
got
that?
resolved. Yeah. It got resolved immediately after validating the link which
Okay, Amit sir,
was
I'll
received.
take care
I'd
of it.
like
Yeah.
to add to that,
I'll
Amit
check it.
sir. I'd like to add to that. I'm sorry I'm intervening in between too.
Hmm.
So I had also validated from the email, and I could not, the same issue that Mayur had, I continue to have it. So what I did again, I uninstalled it and I installed it for particularly Windows 10. So I'm using Windows 10. When I installed it for that particular thing, my trial version had started, and that is what I'm able to run. The only issue is it's kind of getting stuck. It's a little slower. I'm having that little issue, but then that's working well for me.
No, when you click on, hi Vishal here, Vishal Khanna, when you click on the trial version as suggested by Ankita ji, so you need to repair or modify the existing one which you have already downloaded. So once you click on repair, it will automatically take you to the new version updated, and then you can start, you can log in. Ankita ji is correct that you need
Yes,
to
no, sir, you are
download for
absolutely
10 days.
right.
14
You are
days.
absolutely right. I had just uninstalled everything so that my system will take it as a fresh, and because it was stucking somewhere. Otherwise, you are saying right. This is what I had done. Thank you.
Yes. Without 14 days, I don't
See,
think there is a.
when I have downloaded it, it very clearly said that this is for 14 days trial period. And I have confirmed also from the email what all has been discussed here. यही सारे steps मैंने follow already किए हैं.
Then अमित
Now
सर वाला
what I need
फॉर्मूला
to
आप पे
do-
वर्क करेगा मयूर जी, जो अमित सर ने अभी सजेस्ट किया वो वैलिडेशन वाला थ्रू ईमेल. अगर आपको हमारा वाला प्रॉब्लम नहीं फेस हो रहा है एंड यू हैव
मैम वो ना
डाउनलोडेड द
email
राइट वन.
एकदम से ही जब आप डाउनलोड करते हैं तो रिसीव होता है. उसमें confirm का एक बटन होता है. I can share my screen also and show you. तो वहां पर क्लियरली लिखा है ना, ये आप देख सकते हैं. ये कंफर्म ईमेल का ऑप्शन है यहाँ पे. मैंने यहाँ से कंफर्म भी किया है.
सो मयूर
उसके
सर,
बाद ही लॉगिन.
मयूर सर आप पहले अनइंस्टॉल कीजिए स्क्रीन शेयर करके ही. यू कैन अनइंस्टॉल द एंटायर एनवीवो फर्स्ट एंड देन यू डू द प्रोसेस. आई एम श्योर इट विल बी डन.
ठीक है मैम, मैं करता हूँ. ओके मैम, यू कैन take the doubts of others also. Thank you.
Okay, one more thing. Let me tell you, there's a choice of 64-bit and 32-bit based on your computer. That is one thing you have to be careful of. Another thing which is there is, if your Windows is not Windows 8 or above, so अगर आपका Windows 7 है, पुराना वाला है, तो आप NVIVO 12, NVIVO 10, NVIVO 11 डाउनलोड करेंगे. Please check the configuration. So there are two things you have to be careful of. One is it gives you a choice of 64-bit and 32-bit. You have to see what is your system. If you download the other version, it will not work. Another thing which I got stuck in the last workshop also was that most of their computers was Windows 7. So in Windows 7, what happens is by default, the downloading which is being done for NVIVO is the latest version. The version is not given a name. It says NVIVO. That's it, latest version. But in case your Windows is below, it's 7 and below. okay, 7 or older, in that case only download NVIVO 12 or 11 or 10. Okay, these two things please try. Then it will work.
Also, ma'am, yes, ma'am,
Yeah.
I need to add something. Like if your version is for 64-bit, this NVIVO software will not be downloaded in that case. It should be 32-bit, right?
Yes.
So if in case 64-bit is you have to check the operator. Your Windows should be accepting the fact that it is for 32-bit only, the NVIVO software.
Yes.
So this needs to be very clear when you're downloading the NVIVO software.
And the other thing is the Windows version. If it's 7 and below, please don't download the latest one. Just download the 12, 11 or 10.
10. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any other doubt regarding today's session or downloading of NVIVO? Anybody else? You should be able to get, just wait a minute, I'm sharing the screen. You should be able to get this screen, all of you. Okay, and the moment you get this screen, please go to new project. The moment you get this screen, please go to new project. It will say give project title, just write any name. Suppose I write Jaspreet. Description is not needed and go to next. Okay, after going to next, it will say project saving, project recovery, and it will say create project. Go to create project. It's creating. NVIVO is a little slow. Okay, it's a heavy software. It could be a little slow. It takes time in processing. I have to connect my battery. Give me 1 minute. Yeah, so this is the screen that comes up. Okay. It will come up with this screen which will say start tour, and if you want you can close this and go to next. So all of you should be able to get this screen. I don't know what's the problem. Give me 1 minute, huh? I might have to sign out. Yeah, sorry, I got disconnected. So have you seen the screen? All of you, please be ready tomorrow. Okay, with the screen ready. Is it clear? Any doubts?
Ma'am, I'm facing the same problem. I have done the login with the steps that you had provided,
Okay.
but it says that there is no account. The same problem that Mayur sir was facing.
Yeah, no. There is no same account. First thing first, is it a 64 or a 32-bit? Please check that.
64.
64 it is. Okay, so I think, ma'am, Ritika ma'am, will you be able to solve that with the group?
Sure, ma'am, sure.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. Yes.
So now we meet tomorrow again, 3:30, and Ritika ma'am will help. The page, this is the first page we need to start our section tomorrow.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
How many times can we download the free trial?
Only once, madam, on one laptop. Only once on one laptop.
Or only once with the one email ID or?
Yes. No, on one laptop, only once. It notes down your IP. It will not allow you to do a trial version again.
Okay, fine.
If you want to download, you will need another laptop.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Right. So I think we can call it a day today, and I see you tomorrow 3:30. We straight away get to NVIVO, straight away on the first page. Correct?
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I take your leave for today. Thank you so much, and I see you tomorrow 3:30 exact.
Thank you, Jaspreet, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you all the participants.
Thank you, ma'am.
For the next FDP session, the meeting link will be shared with you all in the WhatsApp group. You all can keep the meeting now.
Thank you all the participants for joining us. We will be meeting with the link shared in your WhatsApp group only tomorrow at 3:30. Thank you everyone for joining us for today.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
So much.